And good morning. This is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor. I come on to this podcast every day and we talk about business and we talk about the economy and talk about the politics that affect the economy. And today we had the CPI or the inflation report come out. Everybody was sitting by waiting for it to come out to see exactly where we stood. And we were exactly the same place that we were last month. We went up another 0.2% or 3.2% from last year, but up 0.2% from the month before. So inflation has gone up, as we all know. It has not changed for the majority of Americans. If you look at what they think of the economy, they think it stinks at the moment because they're having to pay higher prices for everything. And their wages, of course, we've discussed this all before, wages have not caught up to the price of staying alive. And that's why I get so upset, because as we know, inflation has not improved for the majority of Americans. We keep getting lied to every single day by the politicians in the White House, the president himself, the press secretary. Every single day they come out and they spread more lies and more lies and more lies, and we never get any good news that the American economy is helping you and I, the normal American. So the problem is that prices of our food and of our gas and everything climbed 3.2% from the same time last year, up from 3% in June, but slightly below the 3.3 forecast that was made. It marked the first acceleration in the headline figure in more than a year, understanding the challenge and timing of high inflation. So here we are once again. We're in this situation where the president is out there touting his wonderful economy. But it's not wonderful. And we all know that it's a lie. We all know that where we sit and I just came from the groceries this morning. I got up early, went in about 6 a.m. And I tell you, it was empty. What do you expect at 6 a.m., right? I'm the only nut job that's shopping for food at 6 a.m. But it was expensive. I always think, okay, this time I'm going to be within the $50, $60 range. Every single time it's $110. I don't like where we're sitting today. Now, this morning I was listening to a Twitter or an X Spaces account where all the finance people get together and they debate what's going to happen in the financial world based upon what happened with today's CPI number. And I must tell you, I have never heard more of a bunch of mixed up people in my life. They just don't know what's going to happen. Some are saying, well, we are ripe for a black swan. You know what a black swan is? A black swan is a surprise. It's one of those events that you're not expecting, and it hits you really hard. It's a black swan event. They say, so they were spouting that, it's ripe. The way the economy is running at the moment, we're ready for a black swan event. Something to happen in the credit markets, in the banking industry, jobs being lost faster. It could be a whole bunch of different things. So as I was listening to these guys, I said, oh my gosh, if these guys who are running businesses, who are doing investments, who are on Wall Street, who are advising the White House, if they don't know what's going on, then we are in big time trouble. We have an issue where Americans are having a tough time making their rent. Rents have gone up. They are having a tough time keeping their cars because their payments are so high because they overpaid on that car. Because car dealerships and car manufacturers overcharged people. We have a banking industry that is weak and undercapitalized at the moment and are getting hit by credit reductions. We are hit with people withdrawing from their 401k plans because they need to survive. And we could go on and on with all these lists. If the American people are feeling it, that is not a good economy. What happens on Wall Street, I don't care. You made stock purchases, fine, that's what you did. But that does not hit us here, except in our 401k plans. They're making money. The government is printing money. Every single time that they're short on money, what do? They print it. You and I, we can't print it. Our credit card debt is the highest it's ever been in this nation. And people are now at the end of their credit limits. This is the American economy. And this is where we sit today. Now, I tell you, last night I was going through and trying to find content to talk about today. And as I read through X, I'm going to call it Twitter. I'm going to keep calling it Twitter. I don't care if they want me to call it X or what. As I was going through Twitter, I was going through Facebook, as I was going through Instagram, as I was going through Flipboard that provides me with the majority of my content, it was all about all of the nonsense and all of the criminality and all of the corruption that is going on in this country. We have a president who has taken millions and millions, over $20 million from foreign countries. He's compromised. He is impeachable. He is treasonous. We have a Department of Justice and the FBI who have become so corrupt that no one can trust them any longer. Some of them are impeachable. Some of them are arrestable. We have all of this going on in front of our eyes. We see judges who are making political decisions or making judicial decisions based on their political vibe and not on the rule of law. We have members of Congress who are trying to disrupt the Supreme Court. We have members of Congress who are sitting there and lying about politicians, trying to convict them. We have a January 6th committee who have destroyed their documents. We have all this going on, and you and I can't do anything about it because the government, the elite that is in Washington, D.C., has destroyed the fabric of this nation, the fabric of democracy, the fabric of judicial, the fabric of good management of our taxpayer money. We are in so much debt because of the elite taking control of Washington, D.C., and we are in trouble. And I'm so mad and so pissed off because every single day you see these people out of Congress coming out, we found this and we found that, I'm Joe Biden, we did this, but nothing ever gets done. No one is even talking about impeachment. Yes, they say impeachment inquiry, but what is that? It is nothing that shows that they are serious about righting a wrong. Doing what is right. And we keep hearing about this and hearing about this and hearing about this. And we hear about special prosecutors who are overstepping their bounds and are prosecuting people based upon what they believe politically. So we hear this over and over and over and over again, and it has become so distrusting of who is right in this country anymore. We see our inflation going up, and yet the president stands there and lies and says, oh, we are good, we are a good nation, we are secure. And then, as you look at it, we are on the verge of a nuclear war that we should not even be in with Russia. And we are on the verge of another war with China. because we have no foreign policy that makes any sense whatsoever in dealing with these two countries. We have no leadership. We have everybody going in a whole bunch of different directions because they've got the power to do it. And Americans have got to be able to, at some point in time, stand up and say, okay, enough is enough. We're going to rein you in. No longer can you do this. And I don't know how to do it. Maybe it's through the court system. Maybe it's through demonstrations. Maybe it's through rebellion. Maybe it's through working with your congressman. Maybe there's a whole bunch of maybes out there of how this can be done. But I don't see anybody doing it. Look at San Francisco. San Francisco is one of the dirtiest places to be. Their politicians have totally disrupted and destroyed that city through their political policies. And yet, San Franciscans just sit there and they don't do anything about it. If they're rich enough, they move out of the city. Here's my frustration. And I'm sure that those of you who are listening to me or have that same frustration. Some of you have so fed up and you've lost any grasp of what's going on because you've turned off the news. Because it's the same old every day. We see corruption, yet we don't see the media saying anything about it. They sit there and they talk about Trump all day long. That's all they talk about. Because that's the only thing that gets them ratings is Trump. The problem is we have a serious situation in the United States where we have a corrupt leader of this nation. And the media doesn't want to say anything about it. When it was Nixon, they were all over it. All over that. Now that it's Biden, and we know what he's done, they remain silent. So I don't know, the CPI number went from frustration with the inflation to frustration with the government as a whole. And as I sit here looking outside, I'm thinking, my gosh, maybe it's better just to be stuck in these woods and not know what's going on. I think that America, you and I, we have a lot to do. We have a lot to take back. Our freedoms are being attacked every single day. We can no longer sit here and do nothing. We can no longer sit here and just observe. It's time that we get involved. It's time that we demand for the impeachment of the President of the United States, even though I hate to say that. But it's time. It's time that we demand more rule of law, obedience to the Constitution from our elected officials and from the courts and district attorneys themselves. It's time we demand that. This is our nation. This is our country. We have to be proactive and pro-American and pro-Constitution. This is our country. Let's take it back. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.